right now, and I can't wait to tap into the interview. How are you, Amy?
I'm well. I knew that you and I would have a good time getting together today. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm just really excited to dive in.
Good, good. Yes, me too. And it's interesting how the two of us met because we are co-authors of a new book that's going to be released in September called The Musical Imprint. And it's very exciting to get to know the co-authors of this book. And for the listeners, it's all about how a song can make an impact in your life, how a song can really move you or even helps you go through something very hard that happened in your life or empowered you. So music is just very, very special. And me being a singer-songwriter, I know it firsthand because that's how I work with my clients. I always incorporating music and my own songs that I write oftentimes for my clients. So I'm very excited to learn about your music experience when the book comes out. We don't want to spoil anything, of course. But first of all, let me begin with how you got to start being a social worker, because that's how you all began. And let me just lead into that, because when we are kids and youth, we always have those big dreams on like those, I'm going to be an artist, an actress, a superstar, a nurse, whatever it may be. But then you end up choosing social worker.
I always wanted to teach sixth grade, and I saw I had such a set role for myself as a sixth grade teacher and a wife and a mother. And when all of that fell apart, I never did teach school. My what picture that I had for myself as how my life would play out with my family completely turned upside down. And I was actually talking to a good friend. Her name's Carol. And Carol was not about to let me feel sorry for myself. When I was going through my divorce, we would complain for a few minutes. She was going through a divorce at the same time, but we were so good for each other because we didn't want to stay in that place of, feeling down or feeling sorry for ourselves. And she was actually the one that inspired me to go back to school because I wanted to work with attorneys and help attorneys learn what parents need when they're going through their divorces. And so I thought about being a guardian ad litem, and I really found that the quickest, most efficient way for me to develop my career so that I could engage in family law, really helping the attorneys and really the system understand what children needed and what the parents needed, was through social work. So when I was going through my 2-year program at The Ohio State University for social work, most everyone else wanted to work with people in poverty. And I remember feeling bad about myself for a very short time, thinking that's not really what I'm attracted to. And I wasn't really attracted to working with seniors, wasn't necessarily, attracted to working with a lot of the same people that my classmates wanted to work with. But I knew that I wanted to work in the field of family law. And what I've actually been able to do is break through a lot of the conventional ways that family law is typically carried out and create new conversations with judges, magistrates, attorneys, as well as with the families to help the family make a healthy transition into a working co-parenting relationship when they might otherwise have a long drawn out, expensive court case. I started teaching parenting when my youngest son, I have 3 children, when my youngest son was 2 years old. And it was a wonderful way for me to explore my own ways of parenting and to help parents have conversations about these really heated moments when they were frustrated or feeling guilty or not knowing what kind of decisions they needed or wanted to make with their children. And the one that really caught my ear the most, Sabine, was when parents were not on the same page with each other. And so I started facilitating these conversations between parents who did not agree. Well, should we punish the child? Should we give more attention to the child? Should we be more structured? Should we be looser? Should they be in more activities, less activities? Should they do more chores around the house, or should they be given more free time? And I saw what this did to families. And when parents didn't feel supported by the other parent, it caused so much turmoil and chaos in the home. And so I knew at that point that my real love was working with the mom and dad about handling their conflicts with each other and determining really what was going to work for their household, what they needed, what their child needed, and what was really going to work for their family.
You worked for a company doing the parenting
Yes.
consultation.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about your darkest hour. That really, when you look back now, going through helped you to come out on the other side as a maybe better person, better self, more kind, loving, or growth. What was that for you?
Yeah. Thank you for asking me and really all your guests. I think this is the beautiful thing about becoming is to find the magic that helps us come back to life after a really dark time. And my life came back into me through a couple of friends who actually saw something in me that I didn't see. And as much as I appreciate a lot of encouragement and warmth and comfort, what I really needed and appreciated was the friends that said, I think you have something to learn here. And they were willing to help me expand my perspective. And so I told you about the friend that helped me, get up the nerve to go back to school. And I also had a friend that helped me see that some of my feeling sorry for myself was actually something I could control myself. There were a lot of ways that I was showing up in my relationship with my children's dad that was causing a lot of the negativity in our dynamic. And so she helped me start practicing being more authentic, being more, really creating some independence, because I had been extremely independent, been very dependent on my husband, and I just wanted to keep him happy rather than being more authentic and being a better partner.
Isn't that interesting what you just said? I believe many people go through that same experience to just want to please the other person, not feeling if I'm just going to be myself that, I perhaps damage something in the relationship, but it's really the opposite way, And when was that for you that you told yourself or spoke to yourself, we all have that inner self-talk, that you said, okay, I gotta change. Enough is enough. When can you recollect like a certain time? Do you remember where you were at that time?
Yeah, what I remember as the most intense pivot point for me was when I made a choice to attend a retreat, a spiritual retreat, without checking it out with my husband. You know, when I made a decision of something that I was going to do, and it did not, I remember this moment, I remember exactly where I was sitting, and I signed up to attend and made my flight, and it did not even occur to me to check it out with anyone. And that is the first time I can ever remember making that type of decision without getting other opinions and without getting my husband's approval.
How did it feel?
Yeah. Well, actually, I was rather disoriented. I was really disoriented. And I knew then that it was the start of something where I was going to be in charge of me and it wasn't about him. And this is where I think many people take a wrong turn about boundaries. We all need boundaries. Boundaries help us be authentic. But so many people make their boundaries about the other person, and they're telling the other person what they can or can't say, or what they should or shouldn't do. And that's not what works.
Tell me a little bit about your perspective of setting boundaries for oneself and also boundaries for others.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. This is really my life's work now. I see well-meaning people every day who want to resolve conflict, and they skip the first couple of steps. So the first step is to think clearly about what you are willing and able to do. So that's my definition of a boundary, is what you are willing and able to do to safeguard your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. So we first have to think, where is my boundary? What am I willing and able to do? And it has to be both, willing to do it and able to do it. Just because you're able doesn't mean you're willing. And just because you're willing doesn't mean you're able.
Oh, that is so brilliant. That is so brilliant. I mean, if listeners getting anything out of this conversation, that's already gold. And I know because this is what I'm taking on myself right now, or say, okay, where are your boundaries, Sabina, for this situation? And I did set my boundaries because I'm definitely able, but I'm not willing to do it anymore because I know it's not good for my health and it's not good for the other person's health and well-being either, because I
Beautiful.
cannot be the person that I need to be for that person, if that makes any sense.
So you're doing your work. You're doing your work of considering all the factors and deciding what you are willing and able to do. And I have more good news for you.
Oh, good. Please.
So you're going to love this. It is gold. Once you decide what you're willing and able to do, you set the boundary by stating what you are willing and able to do rather than what you're not willing and able to do. Because once we get into what you're not willing and able to do, then it starts to sound prickly. And it's very tempting for us to make a judgment or a criticism of someone that may be encroaching on our boundary, rather than simply standing calmly and confidently in the boundary. So we don't have to talk about what anyone else is doing that we consider wrong or bad or difficult. We can just say, I can give, so I'll use my own dad. He is going to be 98 this year. And he is in a good situation in a retirement community. And he would like for me to do more for him. And I ask myself often, thoughtfully, calmly, what am I willing and able to do with and for my dad? And so if he asks me to do something beyond what I'm willing and able to do, let's say he were to call me right now and say, hey, I need you to come over tonight and review these documents with me. I can say to him, Dad, I'm free on Friday night. I can be there by 4 o'clock. And that is so much more positive. And the energy is, I call it yes energy. Let's talk about the yes. Here's what I'm willing and able to do. And if he says, well, I need you tonight, I can say Friday night is the earliest I'm available. Right? So just standing calmly and confidently, if that is indeed my boundary. Now, certainly if he had an emergency or if he gave me some other information, it may change my mind about what I'm willing or able to do. But it is completely my responsibility to decide my yes. And we literally, Sabine, we do not ever have to talk about our no. People think boundaries are about saying no. And that makes us feel icky, like we're doing something wrong, rather than very confidently stating our yes. Clearly, calmly. People treat us differently when we follow through with what we're willing and able to do. They can trust us more, they feel more secure around us, and we feel warmer and more connected.
Yes, that was brilliant. Amy, that was so good. Just changing how we approach our boundaries,
Mhm.
changing
Nobody else
from
has
no
to
to
be
yes.
wrong.
I
Mhm.
know. And so often we hear you have to say often no. And, don't get me wrong, it's okay to say no to something. But as you just explained so beautifully, just shifting the energy around that no, saying a yes for a different time, or of course, there are sometimes situations, wouldn't you agree, that we just have to say no and there is no yes?
And even then, we can say it calmly and confidently. It's when we're wrestling with it and we're not clear where our boundary is when it feels really bad.
Okay.
But even a lot of us think there's something wrong with wanting to be nurturing and caring and kind for other people, and we have to learn to do things for ourselves. I don't really see a big distinction there. I think we should always be clear what we're willing and able to do and never overextend ourselves so that we don't have these desperate burnout moments.
Talking about desperate burnout
Yeah.
moment, Amy, let me ask you that, because I do have a lot of listeners who are
Yeah.
entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
and we know all about that overextension that we have, meaning we don't set boundaries for ourselves.
Right.
Now, how would you approach a situation where someone asks something of you that you're not willing to do, meaning, if they ask, can you do this today? And I don't want to do it even on Friday, right?
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
don't want to do it. How would you approach that?
Yeah. You can tell them anything you're doing instead. You can tell them what you've already chosen to do for that night. I love the word, here's what I've chosen to do instead of here's what I have to do. I had a client recently who was living in a community where there was a lot of pressure on her to participate in a lot of activities. And so she just worked with me to decide what she wanted to do with her time. So when someone expected her to be somewhere on Wednesday night, she said, I've set aside Wednesday night. In her case, it was a library night. She had some things that she wanted to research at the library, and that was her library night. So she simply stated, "Oh, that's my library night." So she was giving information. Again, didn't have to push back, just calmly stated what was going to work for her. And so a lot of entrepreneurs like myself, like you, we set ourselves up because we love doing so many different things. And then it doesn't feel good when we can't do them all well. So our job is to take that time to get quiet and get clear what we want our day to look like, what we want our week to look like, our quarter, our year, and allocate our time as it serves our mission the best. And then that's what we have to say to people. Oh, here's what I'm going to be doing during that time that you asked me to come to the gala or be your marketing strategist for your book tour. This is what I'm going to be doing at that time. So we're simply clear with who we are, with where we're investing, and we can say it with the most warm, encouraging tone. We don't have to push back in any way that feels prickly or cold. So we don't have to criticize that person for asking us or expecting us. We can wish them all the, good wishes in the world for what they're doing without having to say, you can't expect me to do that, or you can't make demands of me. That's not a boundary. That's just nonsense. So our job is to simply be clear with who we are, what we're willing and able to do. And one more little golden nugget is that we can say, I'm going to give that a little bit of thought. I'm not sure I can answer you right now. And then maybe we do give some thought to if we want to realign our priorities or to come up with a way to handle the situation where we may make an adjustment to accommodate the request or may just need that time to come up with how we want to respond to that person that is in keeping with our connection, that is in keeping with how we want to represent ourselves to that person.
That was just beautifully said. And thank you so much for sharing that information. I think we all can learn from that. We all can just kind of change the way we respond. And that can also change the way that we feel about the whole situation.
It's much stronger. We're not giving our power away. We're not letting anyone turn us into someone we're not.
Amy and I met through a mutual project, and that is a book. We both are co-authors of the book called The Musical Imprint. And it's about stories. Each author shares their story of a song that made an impact in their lives. And me being a musician, a singer-songwriter, I know firsthand how powerful music is. So that's how we met. We were on an author's call, and then we get to know each other a little bit more. So I'm so happy that you're here. Now, tell me, what was the song that really made an impact in your life?
When I first heard about this project, I was so drawn to share because the song, it's by Josh Groban, and I really think he was singing it directly to me. Let Me Fall is the name of the song, and the lyrics include, let me fall, the one I will become will catch me.
Oh,
and it gave me permission to shift my entire identity as I was coming through a divorce. And it really was the first moment I knew I was going to be okay.
Wow.
So when I even heard the title, this musical imprint in our brains, the way our brains are wired, it really was this song that allowed me to wire my identity in a very new way. And I knew I was gonna make it, and I wasn't so sure before then.
Oh, wow, that is fantastic. That is really powerful, and I can't wait to read the whole story. I know you shared with us your journey of becoming the person that you are today. And this song obviously was also a big part of feeling it's okay. Yes. And yeah, so I have to just share a little bit. So hopefully our listeners will pick up the book and read through the beautiful stories.
Yeah.
My song that made a big impact was from the musical Sound of Music, Climb Every
Oh,
Mountain.
oh, I can't wait to read your chapter.
Yes, yes. And it really reminds us, no matter how hard a situation becomes, no matter how dire things are, you can make your dreams a reality. You know, if you believe, and you can climb every mountain and you will reach the top and make your vision or dreams a reality.
It brings tears to my eyes.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. You're a delightful host.